Fade to Black introduced me to him. And this is what's really interesting. We've known each other now, this is what, 4 years now that we've been doing this since we met, right?
Yeah.
Right? And it's because of that and the connections that this community brings.
Yes.
I will never forget the life-changing moment that I had with him. And it actually wasn't that cool, in that it was so powerful that I started to realize that health is something that you can directly affect. And he brought me to my knees one day. I mean, it was so powerful. With chocolate.
Yes.
You know, with one of my favorite things, and coffee. And wait a minute, we can make this work. Yes, we can make this work where it's actually, you know, with other things, but it's very powerful. So because of what he.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Wake Up America. I'm here in Los Angeles at the Conscious Life Expo, and I've got some amazing guests today. Two really special gentlemen here. The first one is Jimmy Church, and we were just talking, Jimmy, earlier about your distinctive voice. You're amazing. And how old were you when you realized you had that gift?
I was 5. The story is it's a funny one. I don't like telling it because it traumatized me when I was a kid, in that all of my friends had kid voices and I didn't. I had this voice, and my dad would bring friends over to the house and introduce his children. You know, this is my daughter Carol. Hi. This is my son Mike. Hi. This is my son Jimmy. Yo, what's up? You know, at the age of 5. But I learned very early that I could get anything I wanted from my mom. I could say things like, I want mac and cheese, Mom. You know, I want a grilled cheese sandwich. And I had that authority, and I would get my grilled cheese sandwiches. So, but it's traumatic for a kid, because kids are not nice to other kids that are just a little bit strange. And I had this thing, and I just had to fight it. But, you know, here we are today, and I use it to collect knowledge and spread information. So, you know, there you go.
It's a great gift. And,
it's so
and
much
you're
fun.
very good at doing that, too. We're going to talk about that more in a moment. I also want to introduce our other guest that's going to be speaking to us some today also, and that is Cubby, Mr. Cubby, Mr. Sky Cubby. Sky, welcome. You're the founder of Medicinal Foods in Hawaii, and I know you're helping everyone really get healthy around here, so we want to hear more about that as well.
Yeah, well, I wasn't very healthy as a child, and I had my own problems that as growing up with asthma, lung infections, candida, and stuff like that. I was the weird one in that sense, but you know, your greatest challenge becomes your greatest strength, and now I'm free diving in Hawaii to over 100 feet with our medicinal mushrooms and such. So
wow,
you know,
amazing.
We all make it work for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jimmy, I'm going to go back to you a while now here, and I just want to ask you, how did you actually get into the Fade to Black and really getting into this great knowledge, really talking about things that other radio shows don't cover?
Right. Well, just like everybody that is here at this conference, or that's a part of our community, we're emotionally connected to this, and we have been, down this path, with some, an entire life. And I'm the same way as everybody else. I've always been interested in ancient Egypt and Edgar Cayce, and of course later UFOs, going back to a very, very young age. So it was always a pursuit of mine. I knew that eventually, because of this voice, that hopefully I'd be able to take advantage of it and pursue a career in broadcasting. And so I eventually did do just that. And I went to school and learned what I needed to learn, and then I also figured out what I didn't want to do, which is I didn't want to do the news. I didn't want to be a talking head. I wanted to talk about the things that interested me. I wanted to talk about music, food, conspiracies, cars, and movies. Right? If I could do that on the radio, then I would be happy. It's about finding your bliss.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, to be yourself on the radio, to ask those questions that what you are interested in, you're going to resonate. You're going to find people out there that are interested in the same things that you are, because you're being honest. And that's actually was my path. I went into sports. I did sports casting. I love sports. But it didn't work for me, and I decided that I was going to do what made me really happy, which was, again, food, conspiracy, UFOs, time travel, heavy metal music, Randy Rhoads, Dimebag Darrell, and tacos. And if I could get all of that in on one show, I would be happy, and I found my bliss, and I did just that, and here we are today, and hanging out. Look, Fade to Black introduced me to him, and this is what's really interesting. We've known each other now. This is what, 4 years now that we've been doing this since we met, right?
Yeah.
Right. And it's because of that and the connections that this community brings.
Yes.
I will never forget the life-changing moment that I had with him, and it actually wasn't that cool, in that it was so powerful that I started to realize that health is something that you can directly affect, and he brought me to my knees one day. I mean, it was so powerful. With chocolate.
Yes.
You know, with one of my favorite things, and coffee. And wait a minute, we can make
Have
this
some
work.
now.
Yes, we can make this work where it's actually, you know, with other things, but it's very powerful. So because of what he introduced me, and he gave me some really good gift packs, I went down another road. This is 4 years ago, and I started pursuing a supplement-driven diet. You know, and it's only because of this community. Before that, I was self-destructive because I love food. I love food.
You look healthier now, man.
Yes,
You
yes.
look super healthy.
Everybody's been saying that. And you know what's great about that? My weight is the same, but I look different. Right? I don't.
Well, we'll see. I want to gain weight, you know.
Oh, I
If
can
you
help you there.
Okay, maybe, you know, we got stuff for each other, but if you can gain weight and the good things, the healthy bacteria, you know,
Yes,
we're
yes.
made of so much
Yes.
bacteria.
Right, right.
You can gain weight
Let's talk
and
about
muscle
that in a minute.
mass.
See, that's what you're good at. You've been helping me with that as well. What would you like to tell our audience about that? How can you really enjoy the foods you love and be happy with what you're eating, but still really heal your body?
Well, okay, hold on. Right now, this right here, it's like drinking the baby Jesus.
Yeah.
That is the most delicious thing that anybody can imagine. Like you would imagine the most delicious thing that you could drink. And it's right here, but it's healthy.
We call it coffee break. It's chaga, reishi, maca with extracts of chicory, dandelion, barley, and rye, the gluten-free roasted extracts. So I want to drink coffee, but coffee's fine for some people. But for me, I feel bad the next day. So I made all the products for myself, and I share them, and it seems to work for other people. But if you're calling that the real baby Jesus, then you know we're onto something here.
Exactly, and the health food, I think for anybody that has dabbled into it, you get scared off of it because it is not fun, it's not cool, it doesn't taste good. I don't care how healthy it is, but if you don't enjoy it,
Well, that's what I realized. It's got to taste good. You know,
Right.
I made the raw chocolate diet was the first book I wrote so that people could enjoy chocolate with all the health benefits without chasing the sugar. And I use chocolate as the hook, like I did with you. And then it's like, oh wait, this has spirulina in it. This has chlorella, maca. You know, I could do this.
dandelion.
And then you do that with a little bit of chia seed, which chia is the Mayan word for strength. It expands
I didn't know
14
that.
times its size
Right.
and will be a natural colon cleanser. So some people who can't drink a chocolate superfood smoothie a day, and as a meal replacement because it's got the hemp protein in there, it's grounded out a little bit, and then people are cleansing their colon, feeling lighter, getting a glimpse of the possibility of doing some deeper, healthier cleanses, like colon hydrotherapy, enemas, things that put like decades onto our life. So, you know, if it can lead the way into the idea of starting into the medicinal mushrooms, the tonic herbs, the stuff that's been going on for thousands of years, that protects us from the chemtrails, that protects us, our immune systems as that first line of defense, that healthy gut flora.
Yeah.
When I had double pneumonia when I was 6 months old, I was like the boy in the bubble, and they shot me so full of antibiotics that probably wiped out that first line of defense. So that then I had the asthma and just struggled with I had to rebuild. But like my daughter, she wasn't vaccinated, she wasn't ever had antibiotics, so she's strong. Sometimes she gets something, rarely does she get something. She eats the reishi mushroom out of the bag,
Right.
But if she gets something maybe for a half a day or a day, she's sick. But that's what we want to have the Earth's future stewards and the children, growing up on that kind of lifestyle with the healthy foods.
And they don't need vaccines.
No, we just learned that talking to the man who made the Vax movies. Yeah,
that's right. You sure did.
Yeah. Del Bigtree.
Del
He's a great guy.
Bigtree.
Great guy.
That's amazing. Freedom fighter.
Yeah, he was very excited to hear that your daughter's 12. She's never been vaccinated, and she's doing fantastic. So that is amazing. Now, I'm going to jump from that over to conspiracies.
Sure.
I'm going to talk about that because I always feel like when we talk about Jimmy and we say Jimmy Church, you think automatically, okay, is there a new conspiracy theory? What do you feel is one of the most important things right now that's being looked at that some people are calling a conspiracy theory?
In your I started 5 years ago warning everybody, and I started this campaign only because I was seeing it for myself, that I wasn't told this or anything. But I started to tell everybody, when you read the news, no matter what the news is, no matter who the news source is, no matter what the news is, flip it over 180 degrees and you've got the truth. And I started that 5 years ago. And one of the things that I had said at that time, as funny, as extreme or crazy this may be, but this is what I said. I said, the news says, the headline, cheddar cheese will kill you. That's the headline.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That's the headline.
Flip it over 180 degrees. Cheddar cheese will make you live to 200 years. Right? You know what I mean?
All the people in France.
It just and my point is, it doesn't matter what the headline is. Flip it over, because you're being lied to. All these headlines, everyone, and so every day I would go through and I would read the headlines, no matter what it was. Hurricane, earthquake, car prices at Ford. It doesn't matter, right? Bowling. It doesn't. Any headline, flip it over, and you would actually have the truth.
Because there's always that agenda behind it.
There is nothing true. There's nothing true. So here we have 2016 rolls around. Fake news, right? This big thing. Well, now it was an opportunity for me to go, I was right. Well, no, that's not the point. I could have, but that's not the point. The community needed to have that answer where they could go, well, it is confirmation about what Jimmy was warning us about, but now this is actually real. So I don't need to panic. I don't need to have, go into this mode of, no, now you are aware that actually everything that you are fed is BS. I was going to use a bad word there, but it's BS, because now where we have the obvious situation of the media, where we're always told the media is controlled by 6 corporations, it's controlled by we're told these things, but now you see that all of the outlets, whether it's European, whether it's Russian or Asian, British, Sky News, BBC, all the way across through the United States, where all of them have this strange agenda of, all of them would take the same story, cheddar cheese will kill you, right? And then they have put their own spin on it. It's like wherever you're reading this news source, you're going to get a different spin on the same headline.
See, that's conspiracy reality.
That's what I'm trying to say.
They're not theories, it's reality.
And that's what I'm saying, where it used to be something that we would talk about and warn about, but we had confirmation. So now it's a conspiracy reality. And they were caught. Yeah. They were clearly caught, and they're still dealing with it, today. And it wasn't only the media, it was Facebook, right? It was Twitter. It was YouTube and censorship. And
did you ever get banned?
I had my. I don't even. You know what? They rein in so much control. I'm talking about Google and YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm even uncomfortable talking about it because they can. So look at what happened. They can They can instantly
Yeah.
kill a career.
Well, look, from a health and wellness standpoint, I mean, obviously,
came down on you guys
they're
so
at
hard.
war with
yeah,
hijacking
they did.
our food, seed
Yep.
supply, our water
Yep.
supply. So
Yep.
what they did to me is they ripped away all my merchant accounts.
Yep.
And I had just now here trying to make sales at the Conscious Life Expo. I had to scramble because I put a CBD product on Square. They got rid of it.
You can't do it.
CBD, the medicinal mushrooms, and the tonic herbs that have been probably the safest thing ever. The most studied herb in the world, reishi mushroom. That's why Intuit got rid of my merchant account. So thankfully I found one that I've been able to use, but it wasn't easy. And they don't make it easy for us, and that's why we got to
true.
just keep fighting the good fight.
Well, see, now I have sponsors on Fade to Black that have been with us from the beginning. Very cool sponsors. I have a CBD company, and I have a supplement company that I take religiously that has changed me physically, changes my mind, changes the way that I sleep. I'm physically better. I'm healthier. I feel great. I haven't had a cold. I haven't had a cold in 5 years. I haven't had a cold. I'm not scared of cold. Every flu season, every cold
And
season.
that's when you
you're
turned
waiting-
around your health, was
That's-
about 4 or 5 years
That's
ago.
when it started to happen.
So, hey.
And you helped.
But they rained down hell on me, Google and YouTube, because now I have my own network. I own everything, but the stuff that I use YouTube for, which is to archive the shows, run some live streams, I have my commercials in it from honest, cool, organic supplement companies, and they threaten everything and to demonetize everything. Somebody that for them, where I have a pretty large subscriber base, I have a high minute count, very high.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
It was 3 hours per show, so I'm busting, 100 million minutes a month. And
Well, obviously, it's so dangerous, these health and wellness things. I mean, they want to ban everyone on Facebook because it's inauthentic. They just took down, they take down so much stuff on even YouTube because it's inauthentic, yet they allow the flat earthers to
That's
keep
right.
their presence because
That's right.
that's legit.
Right. And I have issues with
point.
that. Well, see, this is the other thing. Let's suppose in their list, and this is the conspiracy, this is what really makes me angry.
Okay.
You look down their list of banned substances, right? Which also includes terrorism and sex toys, right? Okay, well, right, I get that. And why advertisers wouldn't want to do that. But you go up and you see, herbal teas, right? CBD.
Herbal tea.
Oh, anything that, if there's a weight
Crazy.
loss tea on there, some organic, you can't, it's banned.
Reishi freaking mushroom.
Reishi mushrooms. So, but this is where it gets
Yeah, they're
nappy.
so healthy.
Suppose in my video I have no CBD advertising, right? But I have somebody that comes on the show and says CBD made me sick. I had an allergic reaction to it. It's just in a conversation. That triggers their automation system. CBD was mentioned in the video. That's a community guideline.
Just triggered
and it just triggered it, and you can't back off on it. There's no human being there to review it. You can't. The appeals process. They say it happens. It never happens. Just because you said CBD.
Wait, don't say it.
Yeah, I can't even say it now.
They're pulling a lot of channels. I've seen it.
They're
YouTube.
pulling them every day.
Yeah,
The
every day.
company that manages this is your show, and I just took it over. This is what I do.
No, don't worry about it. I'm enjoying it. My show's all about a conversation.
That's good.
And I'm loving this conversation.
The company that manages our YouTube channel, right? Thank goodness that they're there to we have 1,000 videos, right? 1,000 shows. It's a monster, but they're big, and not to say who they are, but let's say they also represent some professional sports franchises. It's like that big, right? Okay. So anyway, where these channels that they have that have 1 million and 2 million subscriber base, big numbers,
Yeah.
are getting banned and pulled because of CBD, weight loss, health, organic, supplement, natural things that were advertised on their channel, from a paid sponsor, and they get the channel pulled. And it's because of Big Pharma. That's what it's about.
Oh, yeah, Big Pharma.
It's about the Food and Drug Administration and the support and the lobbying that comes out of Washington. Everybody knows that CBD is a game changer on so many fronts.
Oh, it is.
So many reasons why, and that unless they start manufacturing their own CBD products and jumping on the bandwagon, which of course they're going.
could happen.
So my dad wrote the Proposition 215 for medical marijuana with a lot of these other freedom fighters, and
When was that?
It was 20 years ago now. We celebrated in Oaksterdam.
Man, this
And,
is the best. Can I have some more?
You're gonna make sure
good.
we get some more after the
This
show.
is incredible.
You too.
Okay.
We will.
Sorry to interrupt. 20 years
Well,
ago,
anyways,
Prop
he
250.
had cancer of the adrenal glands, so his case set precedence. What happened is we pass a law as a California people. I got a lot of signatures myself, and with my friends, we pass a law. A California voter initiative cannot be overturned unless by another voter initiative, so it's legal. Meanwhile, up there in Lake Tahoe, they raid his house, they raid his marijuana garden. They say, he says, look, here's our Prop 215, this is legal. They say that may work for those fags down in San Francisco, but not up here in Placer County. They arrest him. They prosecute him with 2 felony charges for a little mushroom stem. He had written a book called Politics of Consciousness, that he was getting it for the Jewish people to legalize the magic mushroom, and peyote buttons. So they give him felony charges for that, and he's 10 years as a reefer refugee. And he comes back to deal with his case, and they arrest him off the plane, throw him in jail. They aggressively fight that and win. He gets all of his stuff back. He gets forgiven of his felony charges, and that case set precedence for all this legalization of medical marijuana
Thank
all
goodness.
over. Now we get the Farm Bill, and CBD is legal, but the California bases their law on the FDA, which hasn't updated their, their paperwork, and so it's just a bureaucratic mess. And right now, we just got shut down for manufacturing our CBD chocolate bars. We're first to market with CBD chocolate bars. People would
that's
have
too
one
bad.
square, and their back would loosen up. They'd be able to.
We're
do their
making
yoga.
CBD coffee now. We've had the
Oh,
Fade
yeah.
to Black blend for a while.
That's right.
Oh,
And so
great.
we started with it's called. I just got the first shipment.
Fade to
CB Dark.
Yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
CB Dark.
Do you still do your CBD
We had to
chocolate?
move it to another place, but
Okay.
they shut us down because the health department had to follow the law. So it's so frustrating when you've got good medicine that is now
Delicious.
it's
Well, what about the merchant accounts with CBD too as well?
it's lightening up. It looks like some legislation's going to come through that's
Right.
that's going to be a game changer. That's going to change everything from medical marijuana to recreational to just CBD in general. But GW Pharmaceutical, they got their patent on it, so they tried to claim that that they have a patent on CBD. That's like having a patent on coffee
Or sugar.
Yeah, it is.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to jump back to something else. I know we don't have too much more time.
Right.
But just a couple more things. When you were talking about people's channels getting pulled, what did you feel about this whole thing with Alex Jones? Boy, did he go away fast.
Oh, look what happened with David Ike this
And
week.
David Ike, too. Yeah,
David
tell us
Ike
about
got.
that, if you will.
Well, David.
We're all admirers of David's.
David was scheduled for Fade to Black. Today's Saturday. He was scheduled for Fade to Black on Wednesday this week. And he was flying over to Australia for this Australian tour.
Okay.
And that morning, that afternoon, we got word that his visa was revoked by the Prime Minister in Australia. So, and by stating in a letter, well, anyway, so he couldn't do, this is what ended up happening. So he couldn't do Fade to Black that night. We, brought in somebody else, Jason quit, and this whole thing started to blow up overnight. Now, the next morning, which was Thursday, David and I are talking back and forth about what's going on, and I wanted him to confirm. There were certain news outlets, and he said, Jimmy, Yes. I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. And so, and as it turns out, he came on Fade to Black Thursday night to explain, and this is what happened.
What happened?
They said in the letter that they were concerned about his stance on, and I'm going to paraphrase here, freaking out the Australian people on vaccinations, global warming, and that he was a Holocaust denier. Those 3 points in the letter from the Minister of Immigration of Australia. His name was Richard Coleman. So anyway, on those 3 counts, now we have to stop and think about what we're actually talking about here, which goes back to Alex Jones.
Yes.
And freedom of speech for all of us.
Right.
In that, how can you tell the Australian people what they can and cannot listen to? Wait a minute. That's censorship. That's hardcore censorship.
How do you know what is the most true, the thing that they're protecting?
They just elevated his message through the
The
roof.
vaccines, he was saying you cannot talk about vaccines.
Yeah.
What are they most
Terrible.
afraid of? Now,
Exactly.
we get vaccines.
Dell said that earlier today.
For a lot of people,
Yeah.
they get the global warming. I mean, it just snowed 20 feet up in Tahoe, but we don't need to talk about the weather. But now,
Something that's interesting about David Icke too, when I first met David back in the 90s, he had done a tour to Canada, and they
Same
revoked.
thing happened.
Same thing happened back
That's right.
then with the visa.
That's right. That's right.
So this is interesting.
Well,
that
and
right
2
now,
years ago, he went to Australia. He came here to the United States and spoke, and I got to see that and hang out with him. It was really, really cool. But he goes over to Australia, and he lands, and they hold him in customs for like 10 hours without giving him any answers. And eventually, they let him into the country. But like I said, this time around, it's not about is he a violent criminal? Was he something criminal in his past? Were there riots inside? Was there some kind of no, nothing. They want him not to speak. That's a whole nother. That's a
That's
whole
censorship.
nother.
doesn't matter who's right. It's like
Yeah.
you can't
It doesn't.
speak.
That's
it.
not right.
Cannot do
They
it.
Scary.
prevented him from coming here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now let's look at this with Alex Jones.
It's the same situation. It's
Yeah.
the exact
What
same.
did
situation.
Alex do wrong?
Well, okay.
What actually got him?
Okay. Well, a lot like with what
If I could put it
Sky
that
does
way.
and what I do.
Yes.
No matter what, you can be a rebel, but you still have to play within the rules. You can be as rebel as you want, but the man is still the man. And with Alex Jones, if there's a line there,
Yeah.
I know how far I can go up, and I feel the edge of the cliff, right? And I'm in the dark, but I feel it.
Yeah.
I know I don't need to go any further. Alex just jumps.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. He
And
did.
so you can't do that. No matter what you want to say about YouTube or Google or Twitter or Facebook, those are all privately owned. Those are not government regulated things. Freedom of speech does not apply there. And so if you are going to use their platform, you play by their rules. It's
Pay to play. Well, that's why Mike Adams set up his
Yeah.
own platform.
that's or me.
Yep.
Right.
And so I was on Mike Adams' network when he first launched it back in the day for those very reasons. But the situation is with Alex is that he was warned, and he went back and he was warned. You need to play by the rules. There's nothing wrong with that. In other words, you can be the loud guy in the room. You can be the bad guy, and he wants to do what he's doing. That's all fine, and people enjoy it. I enjoy Alex Jones. I really do. Entertaining.
He is
It's entertaining. Yes. Does he even believe half of his stuff? Probably not, but it's fun. Do you remember Wally George?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I do
you
too,
remember
a little bit.
Wally
Yes.
George?
Yes, I do.
Wally George was a master at what he did, but Wally George also knew that it was entertainment, right? But he pushed the boundaries, but he stayed a little bit in bounds. I don't know if Wally George today could get on the air, you know, and it was comedy, you know.
Well, it's kind of like Vinny Eastwood, The Lightest Side of Genocide.
Yes,
you
yep,
know?
yep, yep.
That's a way to do it, you know.
Yep.
Just keep it light, make fun.
Well, and that's true, but you know, let's look now at comedians. Comedians are starting to say, wait a minute, you know, this is comedy, and they're starting to be censored. If you even look what happened with Kevin Hart, tomorrow is going to be the
Sure.
Oscars.
Sure.
And he's off.
Sure.
For some things
jokes
that
that
he said.
8 years ago.
What do you think about that, Jimmy?
It's the same thing. And look, let's be very clear. PC is okay in its idea. PC in its